right, this is Bruising Boxing. I'm your host, Filthy Rich. Guess what? I'm in the driver's seat and riding shotgun with me. I nailed it this time. Judge Jimmy James, what you got, Judge?
I have this bit of information for you. It is illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland because they get lonely. So you have to buy them in pairs so that way they always have a friend. So that's interesting. If you know, we all know where Filthy Rich is going to move if he ever moves out of the country. It's going to Switzerland.
So, yeah, there's disputes to that. Like, guinea pigs can be territorial too. So you get two of them and they don't get along. What are you going to do? You're going to have one. So Switzerland, yeah, I believe that is really true. I've seen it on a Snapple, and if it's on Snapple, it must be true, but it should be disputed. That should be overturned. The guinea pig cult I'm in, wink, there's that wink. We know that sometimes guinea pigs are happy alone. They just need some companionship. And when they got me, what more do you need? In a minute, I'm going to drink to that. But I got to say, I'm in a very celebratory mood because we are officially at 100 days until the most wonderful time of the year, and that is Christmas. Folks, I'm going to drink to that. I want you guys to drink to this. Pop it open.
Hey, cheers, buddy.
Let's go. All right, let's move on with the show. All right, the bruiser popped, so let's move right into bruising news. Hottest story going on right now. It is official. Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter are set to get it on November 20th at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas. Looks like the fight's going to be exclusively like an ESPN pay-per-view deal with PBC having no involvement whatsoever. Both these guys had some ring rust. Haven't seen either one of these guys in the ring for a while. So, James, just want your thoughts on this fight in general. Go for it.
I am very, very glad that this is finally happening and that it's inked in, that it's not just, the hearsay, the back and forth. There's so much of that in this sport that's finally inked. Now let's hope that nobody gets COVID or any other delays happen because, it still is, 2 months away. Hoping it was going to be sooner than that, but it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers. This is going to be a fight that is you're going to want to watch this one 100%. This is going to be I don't want to say like action packed, but it's going to be, when there is action, it's going to be good action. These are two excellent fighters, especially at the 147 division. Crawford is finally getting his test. This is the test, right? Because Porter has been in there against pretty much everybody. He either wins or he puts up a fight like nobody's business. There is no, he's the dog, he is always just scrappy. He's always scrapping. Got a lot of respect for Porter. So this is just going to put people in their place to, if Bud Crawford deserves to be where he's at, because obviously I'm someone who I have him high on my pound for pound list, and I've had him very high on my list for a very long time because I just don't see any reason not to based off of skill, right? But this is going to definitely be the test. If he beats Porter, it's going to be hard to argue that. If he loses to Porter, well, I think that'll be a real interesting week or two for old Judge here. But either way, I think this is going to be a fantastic fight. I really am looking forward to it. And man, what is it? It's November 20th tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, my only concern with this right now is you brought it up, the whole COVID thing. Is there going to be some sort of delay? But even with some of these delays, the fights still seem to take place. Fury and Wilder had a delay, but that fight is going to happen. Figueroa and I think it's Stephen Fulton got delayed, but it sounds like, in minor news, that fight is a go-ahead. So once the names are on the contract, this stuff seems to happen. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I know it's going to happen, and I am excited for it. I don't think Crawford has really been tested at 147. I mean, he won that WBC belt. I don't know. I think it was a WBC belt from Jeff Horn, and since then, nothing crazy. No, I think he had one guy who was a top 10 opponent.
Kell Brook. I mean, he fought Kell Brook, which was a good one, and broke his face again. So that was impressive for me. But definitely not in the prime of Kell Brook's career either. So take that for what it's worth. But
and like Porter fought Kell Brook, 2013 when Brook was in his prime, beat Porter for a belt. So at least they have that one common opponent. But yeah, I guess the Kell Brook fight was pretty big going into that fight. But I'm just happy to see both these guys get in the ring, and I'm glad there isn't like some tune-up special before they do decide to get it on. They're just going right to it. And, I'm not going to say this very often, but props to Bob Arum for getting this thing done. And why the PBC is not involved with it, I don't understand, but Porter's a PBC guy, and hopefully he wears like some PBC trunks or something to the ring. Anything else before we move on?
I never thought I'd ever hear you say props to Bob Arum. So that's that's pretty interesting, man. I don't think we'll ever hear that again. And there's a good chance that even after this, that Crawford isn't with ESPN. He's going to dip off the top rank. I thought his contract was up already, but maybe I was off on that. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting, but nothing besides that.
We'll see what happens. I just took a drink for Bob Arum. I don't think I've done that in 100 shows. We got to be at like 80 shows at this point. So another big story making the headlines. Teofimo Lopez wants to fight. He wants to fight everyone except Lomachenko. It looks like Lopez is planning to move up to 140 after the Kambosos fight on a Monday night. And the plan is to hopefully fight Josh Taylor for Josh Taylor's belts or anyone ESPN can produce for him. So, Judge, just question for you. Is this the right move for Teofimo Lopez to move up to 140 and basically avoid Lomachenko?
We touched base on this last week too, and it was maybe not last week, recent shows. It's interesting because he wants to call out a lot of people and fight. He calls himself the Takeover, right? And that maybe him and a couple other people are the Takeover young up and coming fighters, and he really wants to make himself a legacy, right? Like he wants to be in the record books, but I think he only wants to be in the record books for belts, because there's a lot of people at 135 that he hasn't fought, that he's just saying that he technically doesn't even want to fight either. He just wants to move out of the division and go fight Taylor for his undisputed titles, right? And that's it. Like once he got the belt from Lomachenko, I'm out. Like that's all that matters. I got all the belts. I don't need to fight at this weight class anymore, which is a shame because, I mean, belts don't matter. So if belts don't matter and you're trying to do a legacy, then you should be fighting the best. Doing that stuff, but obviously belts draw money, yada yada yada. But it's going to be interesting because if he doesn't beat Kambosos, you still going to move up, or are you going to give him a rematch, or are you going to fight somebody else? I mean, I think there's bigger names at 135 than there are at 140, to be honest. So if we're talking about legacy, I'd rather be fighting at 135. But I mean, I don't know. That's kind of my short take on it. I'm curious to see what you think, if you think that this is the right move for Lopez, and is this the best decision for what he keeps touting on legacy and the Takeover?
Yeah, I mean, there was rumors swirling that the reason the Kambosos fight got delayed was not because he didn't want to go to Australia or New Zealand or wherever they were going to fight, but that he was struggling to make weight. So if he's going to move up to 140, my guess is there's two things. He's struggling to make weight, and he's going to just be comfortable at 140, or Josh Taylor's I guess a bigger prize fight, which I don't think the latter is the case. I think the bigger fights are against money wise are against Lomachenko and Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia if that happens. But yeah, the 135 division is stacked, and it wasn't too long ago. I mean, it's been several months. I believe it was like Ring Magazine is touting this as the new Four Kings. These guys are the new Four Kings. They're all going to fight each other. Well, you lose Lopez. I guess we're back down to Four Kings. So that one time it was five. Well, you got Lopez, Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Who am I missing there? I'm drawing a blank.
I thought it was Tank.
Tank Davis is the other one. So I think there's more money staying at 135. So my guess is he really is struggling to make weight. Now, you mentioned, what if he loses to Gambosis? If you are struggling to make weight, look at Burchell. After Burchell and Valdez got it on, or actually after the weigh-in, Burchell went right to the buffet table and went to town because he was struggling to make weight, and he got knocked out. I mean, he lost like every round that entire fight. Probably should have been stopped earlier. So I would be interested to see this Kambosos fight now that Lopez is already talking about moving up to 140, because it just seems like there's too much money at 135 to want to move up to 140. And, final little take for me here. I mean, you've heard, I've said this before, moving up a division, you might want to see if you're comfortable there first. I'm not saying don't go after the top guy, because Lopez is good. He's a number one guy at one division. If you're going to move up a division, I think he could beat Taylor at 140. Maybe it's a smart move. I would still say stick to someone else, and not to say prove your worth, but let the fight marinate, but let the fans know who you are at 140 and call out Josh Taylor in the ring at 140. The fight should be easy to make. They're both on top rank, so I can see it happening. Now, where does Lopez go next? Let me ask you that. What do you think will happen?
Well, Lopez, even now, he's got the fight in October. He's still saying that he wants to fight twice in 2021. So he wants to fight in October and then wants to have another fight, right? Like, I don't know what he's expecting to have that other fight, but if he goes to 140 and his next fight is Taylor this soon after a Kambosos fight, I mean, you can stay in the gym a long time, but that might be tough on the old body, especially what you were just touching on. Like, if you don't have what it takes at 140, then that might be a bad move. Personally, I think he'll fight Kambosos. If he wins, he's probably going to move up, try to get the Taylor fight. If he loses, he probably still moves up. Honestly, I just don't think he's going to stay at 135. I don't know if he's don't know the reason behind it, but that's just my gut feeling. I think he's going to move up regardless after this Kambosos fight, and go 140, 144, 147, and then probably end up at like 154 when he gets done.
Yeah, projecting like years down the line. Yeah, win or lose, I think he is going to move up to 140, because you win, you can say, well, there's nothing left for me here, which we all think that there's plenty left here. It just seems like it would be difficult to make a Devin Haney fight, a Tank Davis fight, a Ryan Garcia fight. All these guys are on DAZN and the PBC. Obviously, we just saw Crawford and Porter came to terms, so it can be done. But this is kind of a way to say, all right, I'm done with this division, I'm moving up. And again, if he loses, he can say, I had weight problems, I can't make weight anymore, I've got to move up. So I think, yeah, regardless of the outcome of this Kambosos fight, Lopez is going to be moving up. So Next big story we got going on. Jaime Munguia decides to pass on the WBC Eliminator fight versus Derevyanchenko and instead possibly fighting Gabe Rosado. What are your thoughts on Jaime Munguia leaving this Eliminator fight versus Derevyanchenko?
That one's a little interesting for me because I know Mcghia had just moved up to 160 not too long ago, within the last like year and a half, and I thought it was about time. He looked good in the fights that I've seen him. His last fight, he definitely had some stuff to work on, but he's moving in the right direction, and he's still a young dude, with that style, with that power. For him to pass on a fight like Derevyanchenko, who's obviously a tough character, right? To have it be a WBC eliminator, who then you would be the number one. If you beat Derevyanchenko, then you are the number one contender to fight. I believe it's Charlo for his belt. That would be a giant fight right there. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of proving in the whole 9 yards. If you skip that and go to Rosado, it was not an easy fight either. I think he's actually, his last couple of fights, he looks extremely good, which is kind of weird because he's obviously, getting old, but maybe he's just like fine wine or cheese, right? Gets better with age. But I don't know what the thought process is behind that, right? Like, I don't know, where are you going after you fight Rosado? Would it just be back to Derevyanchenko? Or are you trying to do something else? You're trying to move up to 168? Like, I don't think that's a smart move. I mean, not in this stage in your career. Like, you got other you got moves to do at 160 still, fights to make, like Boo Boo Andre. Like, that's a fight that you could make too. Obviously, nobody wants to fight Boo Boo, but that would be a good one too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. I guess I don't know. I think it's, if you're looking for more, what do you call it, experience under your belt, then Rosado is probably a good move. But if you're just looking to capitalize and take some big name to prove that you are ready for that next step to get these big draws, then I think the smarter move is to go with Derevyanchenko. So, I mean, I guess I'd be curious to know, like, what do you think is the thought process, right? Like, what is he gaining by not going against, like, by doing this, right? Like, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the money gap is that wide. I'm pretty sure, I'm just a guess, and I don't know the inner workings of the contracts and the issues there, but I would think if you're going to go after Rosado instead of Derevyanchenko, Rosado's probably the bigger money fight. But how much more money is a Rosado fight? Unless you're planning, the Tyson Fury just revealed his next 5 fights that he wants to have happen. Maybe Mcghia has a 5-fight plan where first it's Rosado because who knows, maybe Rosado wants to call it quits. He's got 1 or 2 fights left in him, and Munguia wants a piece of that before he's gone. Look at Pacquiao. How many people wanted Pacquiao before he calls it quits? So that could be an option. Could even be less money, but I want that Rosado fight before he calls it quits. Derevyanchenko will always be there. But having Derevyanchenko always be there does not mean that this WBC Eliminator is always going to be there. Are you really interested in a title? Because some of these guys, they're fighting for titles. They fight for the prestige. And there's no title against Derevyanchenko. It's just another stepping stone to get Jermall Charlo if Jermall Charlo still holds a belt at that time. You just touch Boo Boo Andrade and Gennady Golovkin. You didn't say Golovkin, but both those guys are at 160 and on DAZN. So a lot of fights can be made without Charlo. Do I think Mcghia could beat Derevyanchenko? Yes. Do I think he can beat Gabe Rosado? Yes. So what is the point of fighting Rosado? The only conclusion I'm coming up with is Rosado's probably calling it quits soon. And Derevyanchenko, who's an old dude too, he's got to be in his 34, 35 years old. Had a long amateur background, so didn't get started professionally till my guess would be late 20s, early 30s. So Derevyanchenko may not have much left either, but Derevyanchenko might be there a few years from now. Jamal is still young. Obviously, Mcghia is still young. Down the line, those two are gonna have to meet. So maybe not rush it. Beat up some old guys before they call it quits. If you can beat them, I mean, Golovkin's got to be calling it quits too. And my guess is that fight has to happen too. So as far as Mcghia passing up on the WBC Eliminator, I guess, but you better be doing it for money and that risk reward. You better make sure you're going to win this, because if you lose to Rosado and you're out of this Eliminator picture, this WBC picture, it's like Hulk Hogan once said, what you going to do? I'll drink to that. Any crickets in the room? Anything to add before we move on?
I don't. Cricket's been pretty quiet over here, so we're good.
All right. Touching on belts there, this clown, what would you call it? The clown letters have came up with a belt for the winner of Canelo and Caleb Plant this November. The WBC has created a title called let me see if I can get this, Teofimo. I don't know if I said that. There is a new belt. The WBC created a belt for a winner, for the winner of Canelo Plant this November. This is a snooze fest, but just let's give me something. If you got anything, give me something. I don't know what to give you.
Look, I don't know when you posted about this. Seeing that news, when I saw news again, it's Canelo and Plant. I got a little excited and I was like, what is it that I don't know? And then I saw that headline: winner receives the Teotihuacan belt. What is that? Why is that a thing? What are you talking about? Oh my God. This is the 10th time they've made a belt. Why are they making belts? Plant's not even Mexican. Like, I could get it if they were both, you know what I mean? Both Mexican, both American, make it the WBC American belt or whatever. I don't know, but I don't get it. Like, I think you said something earlier.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm not stealing anything from you.
Go ahead, man.
Like, they're it almost seems like they're predicting the winner of the fight based off of what they're, going to be providing to the winner, which, it's like, well, I guess, what the hell? I don't know, man. It's just so weird. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. That's probably all I got.
Yeah.
I'm just dumbfounded.
I totally get it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of compare this to, we'll just use like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, George R. Martin had these books written out, and you read these. I don't read. I'm not a reader. You can tell by the way I read the cue cards here. I'm not a reader. I don't care about Game of Thrones, George R. Martin. I don't know any of that. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure he had a great time. Whatever. It seems like this belt was in a book, or at the end of the book, Canelo wins this belt. And then, the books are already written, but season 7's coming up. And then season 8's coming up. And sometimes they don't necessarily match the book. And in this case, it seems like the book was written where Canelo wins this title. Now we got to get the audience to go to the theater and watch the movie, or sit on their couch and binge Netflix or Hulu or whatever you got, Amazon Prime, and watch the outcome, because maybe there's some twist where the book didn't match the movie. Because I guarantee you, if this was called Caleb Plant's from Tennessee, if this was called the volunteer title, I'm not saying he went to the UT, he went to the University of Tennessee, but if this was like the WBC volunteer title and the title was orange and white, I mean, you would see it in the stars that this is all set up for Caleb Plant to win this belt, because that's just the way it is. Obviously, his residency is in Vegas. They called it the Golden Knight belt. you would know Caleb Plant in the book wins this belt. At the same time, we're all going to want to watch this to see if the book matches the movie so we can all go home and say, oh, the book was better. I like the book better. I don't care about all that. All I know is that is how I would equate these two. It sounds like it's aligned for Canelo to win this fight. Let's just throw Plant out there because Plant already has a belt. They're already trying to unify. Do we really need a WBC? Like, I'm done with you. We don't need this. Keep your belts. They don't do this for anyone except for Canelo. And I don't even know if WBA is eliminating belts. I don't know if the WBA has a belt ready to go for Canelo. This is ridiculous, but this is why the belts don't mean anything. This belt is just something for Canelo to put in his what do you call those like his
case,
his china cabinets, because he's not going to defend this belt. This is just a piece of gold to give him. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't care about these belts. I know that I don't know if there's much to add to this, but you want to give it a shot?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Good move. I'll drink to you. Let's wrap it up here. Our final story for the night. Gary Russell Jr. has been removed from Ring Magazine's ratings due to his inactivity. This on the heels of calling Gervonta Davis a cherry picker. So, James, give it to me. Thoughts on Gary Russell being removed from Ring Magazine's ratings?
Oh man, I was laughing since we just touched on this. We just touched on this like last week or the week before. I was laughing pretty hard with this. I couldn't believe it. He was literally removed due to inactivity, and he talks about cherry picking, and they literally are talking about who he was fighting once a year just to hold on to the title. Like, it's just not one for one. This is hilarious. Hopefully they strip him, and then it catapults him into making some sort of fight, because I'd like to see if if he still has it, right? That's what I want to know. I want to know if he still has it. He's got to move up. If Lopez gets out, you got to move up. Let's do that. But I was laughing pretty hard about this, but it's rightfully so, man. Rightfully so.
Yeah, good call as far as moving up. I believe he was stripped at 126. And my guess is he probably can't make weight. And he's, I like Gary Russell. He was talking trash to Terence Crawford, who's not even close to his weight class. Now he's talking about Gervonta Davis. Maybe he needs to step up. I mean, he's got the brothers look really good. All of his brothers look really good. I'm sure he still has it. I want to see him back in the ring. I don't know what money issues are, but go out there and fight some tomato cans, man. Like, be a throwback from the old era, from the classics. Just fight a dude. Could be anybody, and maybe not anybody. We've seen a death in the ring just recently. We've seen some beatings recently with people who have no business being in the ring. But at the same time, you can get out there and fight someone. Just keep your name relevant. Stay in the ratings, and maybe you gotta be moving up to 130. There's plenty of names at 130. Can't wait to see Russell back in the ring so we can actually rank him in our ratings. I think even in the Bruise and Boxing ratings, we can't rank him. We don't know what division he's at. We don't know when we're gonna see him again. So that's all I got on Russell's comments. Probably shouldn't be calling people cherry pickers because it seems like that's what you're doing, but got love for you. I'll drink to you. Anything else before we move on?
I think that does it, man. Let's get it.
All right. Cheers to you, James. Let's move on to the show. All right, it's Bruising Reviews time. There was a big fight this past weekend on ESPN Plus between Oscar Valdez and Robson Conceicao. A lot went on here, man. Let's just leave it to you, Judge Jimmy James. Tell us what happened.
So this one ended up being a pretty controversial decision. If you didn't get the chance to watch it, I'll try to break this down as best I can for you. So Oscar Valdez and Robson Conceicao, they are not unfamiliar with each other. They fought in the amateurs quite a long time ago, with Robson Conceicao actually getting the win in the amateurs against him, right? Now, so he came into this fight being confidence was high, right? Confidence was very high for this guy. He's a Brazilian fighter. Is the first time he's fought outside of Brazil. Not a ton of power or anything like that, but either way. So essentially, this should have been a fight, at least to most people, that Valdez should have just waxed the floor with him, right? That definitely wasn't the case. Conceicao came out. Valdez was his normal self. He is going to be trying to walk you down and, you know, use the power that he has against him or against you. Conceicao was doing well behind his jab, hitting him hard, making him miss. It was really weird. He was making a miss on a lot of punches. Valdez even had some giant whiffs at points where Conceicao actually tried to do the Billy Joe Saunders, the after someone missed, you know, the David Lemieux thing.
Yeah.
Which definitely was not as smooth. But either way, so he came out and Conceicao pretty much was winning like the first 4 rounds of this fight, and it was just insane. Like keeping him at distance, Valdez couldn't hit him. Conceicao was establishing the jab, hitting him when he needed to hit, staying away. And then something clicked, and the middle rounds happened, and Valdez seemed to get his stuff back a little bit. Conceicao, I don't know if he like took a step off the gas or what it was, but just didn't seem like he was closing out the show, right? So he started losing some of the middle rounds, and then I don't remember what round it was, but the ref out of nowhere, I don't even know if he got a warning at this point, but deducted a point from Conceicao for a hit behind the head, which wasn't even a hit. It was just like, it was super weird and super random. If you go back and watch it, they made some comments about it. Took a point away. So like that point, it was like, well, that's not good for you. You're probably going to lose a close fight and a close decision. And then maybe that was still, he wins the first 4 rounds. Maybe the next 4 rounds goes in there. Maybe you're like, then, you know, goes to Valdez. And then the last 4, he didn't, it's like he did okay in the 8th. Like he was doing well in the 8th, and then all of a sudden, like the 9th, 10th, he kind of like
Conceicao, you're talking.
Yeah. Robson Conceicao all of a sudden like started showboating and running around the ring and putting. I mean, he was every once in a while he was putting his hands up and he was kind of doing the oh look at me here and then poop, you know, or oh, and it was just super weird. Like he had it in the bag, right? Like, oh, I forgot that I even had lost a point in the beginning of the round or the beginning of or the middle of the fight. And this went on for the rest of the fight, which just didn't make any sense. And I mean, Valdez still wasn't taking any sort of control over it, but it ended up being a unanimous decision for Valdez, with the scores being 115-112, 115-112, and then 117-110, all in favor for Valdez. Now, the 115-112 definitely can see. Obviously, he lost a point at one point. I probably even could have seen it being like 114-113, right? Because there was a couple of rounds, they seemed like they were there. Either way, Conceicao had that in the bag to beat Valdez, didn't take advantage. Maybe that's just, I'm just going to chalk it up to poor experience. Just thinking that he's not going to win in Valdez's home, like he's going to win in Valdez's hometown before it was fought, which just was ridiculous. But ended up being a pretty controversial decision. I mean, I guess I would have probably called it more of a draw. I don't know if I mean, if you look at the face, if you want to say the faces tell the story, Conceicao's nothing. Valdez looked like battered meat. It was really bad, really weird. And one of the, I guess one of the major points that I saw here was that the judge who scored the fight 117-110 came out 2 days, I think 2 days afterwards, or really fast afterwards, and apologized to the fans, to everyone, that his scoring was so bad, has removed himself proactively from any championship fights until he undergoes a thorough training and review program. Don't know what that means. Personally, I think that gives me props. This is the first judge I've ever seen do that. You get props for that way, but yeah, this is not a good night for Valdez. I am really surprised that he won that fight. And man, I'd say go watch it, but I'd only watch it for the comedic value, right? That's pretty much what I would go watch this for. But hopefully Valdez does something better than this in the future. But yeah, I mean that pretty much just leaves it up to, you know, what is next for Valdez. You know, are you and also what do you think of the judge being proactive in his count? You know, for what he did. I guess those are the two big things that the rest of the public wants to know, Rich. So I really want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the very first thing before I even answer those questions, just shows the public. The first thing I think of is the drug use. It's not drug use. I don't know how to put it, but just because you're on something that could obviously that was not to make him stronger. It wasn't a performance enhancing drug, but it was something, I believe it was like to cut water weight or something to make weight. But at the same time, it can mask a PED. So you got to be in boxing shape. Be in boxing shape, and you could beat not anyone, but be in boxing shape. The drugs are not going to help you. I know with Eddie Reynoso, they've been saying because Canelo had tainted meat. Now you got Valdez. Ryan Garcia was actually brought up about beating Luke Campbell into retirement. So there's something shady going on there. I don't want to really touch on it until I get all the facts, and who knows if the facts I get are actually accurate and correct. That is for someone else on another show, not this show. As far as what is next for Valdez, you know, Chris Colbert is on the PBC. This dude is solid. He's been compared to Mayweather. His style has been compared to Mayweather. I think it's a stretch. I also don't think the fight would happen. But Chris Colbert is a guy at that division at 130 who does not get talked about enough. I would like to see Chris Colbert against one of these top-ranked guys, because to be honest with you, the future for Valdez is somewhere in top rank, and it's between like three guys. Two of them are fighting pretty soon, Shakur Stevenson and Jamel Herring. I don't know if the loser fights Valdez or the winner fights Valdez, but one of those two guys is going to fight Valdez. But in the meantime, you know, maybe Valdez gives Burchell a rematch. I'd like to see Burchell technically is still at this division. He has not moved up to 135. So if you can beat him, and now that there's this cloud above your head of PED use or whatever it may be, I think Valdez should fight Miguel Burchell. So three names, three top right guys, Herring, Stevenson, and Burchell. That's probably what's going to happen next. I don't think he's going to give Conceicao a rematch. When fights are this close, I don't think fighters want rematches. I mean, I don't want to talk about, like, we're on the heels of Golovkin Canelo 2, the anniversary, like 5 years ago or whatever it was. Part one, Golovkin clearly won that fight. Not to say I don't know why Canelo gave him the rematch, but before the rematch, there was tainted meat involved. And then Canelo goes on to beat Golovkin, in a fight where I thought Golovkin won. But different story for a different time. To try to tie it back together, I believe Miguel Burchell should get a rematch with Oscar Valdez. Valdez will probably beat him. We know we talked about the making weight and going to the buffet table. If you can't make weight, you need to move up. And Burchell's still going to stay at this division. That's what he should do, is fight, get a rematch and try to fight for one of those titles. So maybe he can be the one who fights Herring or Stevenson. We just talked about an eliminator thing. Maybe this sets up for an eliminator. The two winners fight each other. Let the two losers fight each other. That's what I got as far as what's next. But also don't remember what the other question was. But I'm glad I got to talk about tainted meat. I do want to ask you, though, before we wrap up here, do you think, like, the whole drug thing had any effect on Valdez in this fight?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't know. He didn't look right, but I honestly think that yeah, I don't know. That's a good yeah, I don't know. That's probably
Yeah,
gonna be my answer. I'm not really sure. I know Conceicao looked cut. He looked fit. He looked like he was ready to fight. He was quick, fast. He had good counter, good power. He just was dumb in his whatever showboating, right? His ego got the best of him as far as that goes. But I don't know. I mean, Valdez didn't look right. That's for sure. But I mean, given what we know of the drug that he was taking, I don't think so. But who knows?
and lastly, this is going to be it. Who do you think? Who do you think won the fight? If round for round, obviously you said Valdez's face made it look like he lost, but round for round, you're the judge. How did you score it, or did you have Conceicao winning? How did you see it?
I mean, I was definitely more in line with the closer fight, right? Like I still think that there was I don't know. I thought there was a couple of or at least one 10-10 round. You get that 10-8 round in there, and that kind of throws everything wonky. You could have called this because of the point deduction. You couldn't call it a draw. I'd probably barely give it to Valdez, but it's literally because Conceicao gave it away. If Conceicao would have been active for all 12 rounds and not doing his showboat, Valdez would not be a champion right now.
All right. Well, let's call it quits. Let's throw in the towel and move on. Move it on out, man. All right. This is what I like to call the final bell. This is the last call for alcohol for all the Kanye West fans out there. Judge Jimmy James, if they're watching us, where can they listen to us? And if they're listening to us, where can they see our beautiful faces and listen to these cricket noises?
If you're listening to us and you want to watch us, go to YouTube.com/Bruce Boxing. If you are watching us and want to listen to our podcast instead, because you're super busy and can't look at the screen all day, just go to any major podcast site and type in Bruce and Boxing, and you'll be able to find our podcast.
Awesome. Nas put out a new video this week, and guess who's in it? Your boy LeBron James. LeBron James is in the new video along with new Laker Russell Westbrook. Oh my goodness, I'm hyped. Want to give a shout out to my friend and former coworker Nikki. Congratulations on all the cool stuff you do. I almost broke character there. I will drink to you. For Judge Jimmy James, I'm Filthy Rich. Thanks for watching Bruce and Boxing. We'll check you guys next week.